Hey everybody, this is Dim, and today we're going to be reviewing the iClear 30S. And as promised, I did do a little bit of improvement to the lighting, so it's not this grainy, awful looking thing. And I'm still tinkering around with it. I really don't know much about off-camera lighting and stuff like that, so bear with me and we'll try to improve this as we go. So anyhow, with the iClear 30S, my go-to vape when I'm sitting down, relaxing, enjoying, is a rebuildable dripping atomizer, whether it be the Patriot, whatever it may be. That is obviously my preferred way to vape. However, there's certain things I don't do. I don't like to drip and drive, and I do like to have something that I can just grab and go and not think anything of it. So before this, actually, my go-to travel vape, if you will, has actually been Cardo tanks. I know. But as I said in the first video, I've been vaping for a while. 09 seems like ages ago. And that's 5 years. And to be perfectly honest with you, the Cardo tank when it came out was terrific. It's simply a tube, whether it have glass or polycarbonate plastic or whatever it may be, and cartomizers with slits in them, and it would, fill in through the tank into the cartomizer, fill up the whatever the wicking system is, usually like a polyfill or something, and you have a vape to go. Now, to be honest with you, I've been doing that for years. Since it's come out, it's kind of been my go-to travel vape, and it worked for me. A lot of people didn't like it, but to me, I kind of don't mind the taste of a cartomizer. I remember using Cardos when they first came out as a go-to for, that was your travel vape. That was your juice system, if you will. Now, so I've always kind of gone to that. Now, when I actually tried this out, went to a local vape store, and we were just kind of talking about our go-to, and he said, listen, have you tried the iClear 30S? Now, I had heard nothing but horror stories about the 30. They're leaky, they're gurgly, their flavor's terrible. And the guy's like, listen, I think at the store, I believe it was like $15 or so. The price range for this device goes anywhere between about 10 from Fast Tech to 15 and up if you want to go to other retailers. So I gave it a try, and I'm going to be honest, right up front, I really was surprised. I've had no gurgling, I've had no flooding, I've had a little bit of seepage out of the bottom, but I think that's more so my fault than anything else. And quite frankly, I've been pretty happy with it. But before we go any further with that, let's go ahead and take a look at it up close. Alright guys, so I'll go through each piece up close and you guys can see what makes the iClear 30S. First off, obviously we have the main body and the tank. Now keep in mind this does hold 3 milliliters. It is a polycarbonate tank and there is a metal finish on it. The next part is the locking ring and airflow, and this will go on the bottom. This is the top cap that screws into your mouthpiece and also into the main tank section. And this is your rotating mouthpiece, where if you really wanted to, you can actually unscrew this part and put a 510 connector in. But this actually looks pretty good, and I believe, in my opinion, the way the airflow control is on this is intended for this particular mouthpiece. You definitely need the bottom part because this goes into the tank, and I'll show you how that works. So you're going to have to use the bottom half. You could take this top piece off, but it's really not worth it. Also, this is the coil. Now, this shows it to be 2 ohms. My other tank actually shows 2 ohms as well. They register about 2.1 or 2.2, so they're pretty close. They're about a tenth or 2 off, but nothing to get all worked up about. Now, this does have the same amount of wicks as the iClear 30 at 16, but they're all compressed inside this small little chamber. And what's great is that, and also there's a top cap here, and like with many of these bottom coil atomizers, you don't want to fill in here because this will take you right down to your dual coils, and could possibly flood out from here and come out the bottom, which you don't want to do. So this is actually your buffer for your mouthpiece. Okay, so now to put it back together, here's what you're going to want to do. First, you take your coil and put it into the bottom of the tank, where you can see the slotted base is right here, and that matches up obviously perfectly to here, and you'll hear like a little click, and there, that is now installed. Next, you want to take the bottom locking ring and place it over the top cap. Now be careful, this is the one place where the threads can be tricky. If you do it quickly, you can actually kind of misthread it and thread it on an angle, and you don't want to do that. So you can go ahead and make that finger tight, and there's your bottom assembly with your 510 connector and your locking ring. Back up to the top. All you're going to do is place your middle tank on and make that finger tight. And then your mouthpiece, if you could see here, hopefully this will come up in the video, you could see the tiny little threads. There's about 3 lines of threading there, and that just threads in. Again, how I said the mouthpiece works in perfectly. See how if you look at the coil, lines up directly with the opening, and the mouthpiece goes right on top of it. So once that will prevent the leaking, and will also funnel the air right through your mouthpiece. Okay, so here you go. That is a fully assembled iClear 30S, and I'll show you in the main back in the upstairs camera how to fill it. But pretty much you take off the top cap with the mouthpiece, fill it on a diagonal away from the center cap with any size dripper, and that should do it. So we'll go ahead and pop back up to the normal camera. Okay guys, so now that we have one assembled, it's completely empty. Now let's go ahead and fill it up, and today's juice we're going to use is Dura Smoke Peach Chill. Again, I got this from a local vape shop. However, you can order this stuff online. It goes for, at my local vape shop, it is 10 milliliters for $7 or 3 for $20. So essentially 30 milliliters for $20. But the one thing is that you could choose 3 different flavors, so it does give you a little bit extra value here. I actually am a big fan of the peach and peach chill for this. I'll vape it and I'll explain it to you, but as you can see, I'm almost empty with this bottle, and I do need to stock back up. But the peach chill is a precise 1-to-1 taste of a peach Jolly Rancher mentholated. Now, the reason why I like using this in the iClear, I like to use my menthol juices in the iClear because it's not as intense as a rebuildable, but I do love menthol, so it's a nice little fair balance that I'm able to kind of achieve with the iClear. So, as I mentioned in the other video, what you want to do is you want to put it on an angle, and fill from here. Now, it is a 3 ml max tank, so you don't want to overfill it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it on a diagonal. And as you saw, this was a completely empty tank. And you just simply fill it as you see here. And we'll go all the way up to the top. Oh, nope, that's 2.5. That's actually 2.5. And that's just below the 3 milliliter fill line. Remember, this is polycarbonate, so they do say you can put whatever juice you want in there. I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't take like your cinnamons, your fluids in this tank. Use glass. Be smart about it. Yeah, I actually left fluid in a plastic tank, and after a month, and the comeback results were disgusting. Anyhow, so yeah, you just take the top cap and spin it on. And what I like to do is I like to give it a little bit of a shake, because it is circle cut, and that'll get it right into the wick. And believe it or not, it'll actually start wicking pretty much immediately. Now, I'll do this on my, I think this is the V2 Vamo. If you notice, I do need a spacer for this. If you don't have something that'll let your mods sit more than flush, this actually requires bottom air, so I do need to use an extender for this. I can use other mods and it'll work fine. However, my Vamo is here, and quite frankly, one of my favorite regulated mods. This thing is a workhorse. I think I've had it for like 2.5 years now, and it's incredible. So anyhow, what we'll go ahead and do is I'm just going to go ahead and screw this on. And this is actually kind of a my lousy vape right now, because it just becomes so large. Okay, so actually this one is actually showing up at 2.4, and we'll go ahead and give this a quick vape at 7 to see how it feels. Oh, and also it does have the articulating mouthpiece. And one other thing, quality-wise, stainless steel. Not cheap aluminum. This is quality metal. For $10, you can't really beat that with the to throw in some nice stainless. Okay, so to get it started, what I'm going to do is after I swash it around, I'm going to do kind of what I do with a cardo tank. You just kind of give it a quick little, some dry pulls to get the juice inside, let it start wicking. Okay, so after I do a couple pulls, you'll see that it took about half of a mil out of the tank and kind of put it inside the wick, which is perfectly normal, and don't worry about that. If you're going for a long trip and you're filling up a new cartridge for always account for that, and you're not going to get a full 3 mils in the tank. It's obviously going to get absorbed by the wick. So let's go ahead and finally take a vape of this. So, flavor. It's very, very good for a bottom coil clearomizer. The draw is actually kind of tight. If you like an airy draw, this is not for you. The draw is tight, however, it is designed, I believe, in my opinion, to be that way deliberately, because it actually funnels the air through the hole, and it gives you a nice condensed vape, so you feel the throat hit going in, and you get a nice amount of flavor. As you saw, it's not plumes, but again, I'm only vape. That sample was only at 7 watts. So let's go ahead and see what happens if I crank this up to about 9.5 watts. That's the other thing. If it does start to get a little bit dry, just give it a little, and it'll pull the juice right back in. You don't get that bubbly effect that you do with the cartomizer tanks, but it'll work. Alright, so the flavor gets obviously a little bit warmer, but it doesn't burn out like you would with a cartomizer. It actually handles up to about 9.5 watts pretty well. You can crank it up even more if you want, but I'd actually prefer a lower wattage in stuff like this, because when I'm driving, I actually kind of do quite a bit of puffing with it, kind of like a mental thing for me. When I used to drive, I used to smoke a lot, so those short puffs, just right to the point, nice and mellow, does it for me. So I actually find that the ideal wattage for this is between 7 and 8 watts, for my preference. And again, this is a right now this is registering at 2.4 ohms. So the flavor is actually really good. It's obviously not as clear or pronounced as you would get on a, rebuildable dripping atomizer, but it's also a lot better than what you would get from a standard cartomizer. And to be honest with you, I've tried a lot of different variations of these bottom feeding coil mods, and I really can't stand any of them. I hated the T-Ducks. I know some people like those. I found them leaky. I found them flavorless. As a matter of fact, I used them to, if I had to on a pinch, I would actually use it as a dripping atomizer, drip it right on the coil before it leaked all over. Of tank mods in general, this is actually my favorite one that's outside of the rebuildable range. As far as flavor, throat hit, the downsides are I don't really like. I wish it was a little bit airier of a draw. I understand why they don't have it. Nevertheless, I do wish that it was a bit airier. That's just my... I mean, as you can hear, I'll do this up close to the microphone so you can hear that there's actually almost like a vacuum that occurs when you're inhaling. Now, I hope that comes through on the microphone, but you can actually hear the air kind of getting sucked away as I'm pulling away from it. So it is quite a tight draw, and that may be a downside to others. But like I said, there's no gurgling. There's no leaking really, unless if you drip down the center, you're gonna leak the heck out of it. If you don't have the top cap on, butt it up against that, or with that rubber washer up near where the top piece comes in, you're not gonna get a full seal. And if you go like this, it may very well seep in there. However, if you have everything connected, you can do this with no problems whatsoever. At least for me. And I've gone through now like 3 or 4 different coils, and not one of them have had a problem. I typically give things 2 shots. When I get something new, I usually get 2 of them. If one is good and the second is good, it's good. If one is good, one is bad, I usually say it's good and I got a bad one, because I'm very well aware of the manufacturing standards in China, which is obviously where these come from. So you can get some fault, and obviously 2 strikes are out. Like with the T-Ducks, I had 2, both were terrible. I just forget it. But actually, all 4 of these have been very good, very solid. Now, let's go ahead and talk turkey. This will set you back about $10 to $15. 10 is on the fast tech range. 15 and up could be retail stores or some internet vendors. You can find some, the median, let's say, is about $13 or $14 on the internet. It's a really good deal, and I'll tell you why. This particular coil has actually been used for probably 30 to 40 tanks. Haha, I didn't tell you that. The reason why is because what's awesome about these is that as long as you're not cooking it, I mean, sitting there just toasting the crap out of the juice, when you take this thing apart, you can actually run the coil through hot water and vape it again with no problems whatsoever. Just make sure it's dry, of course. But the coil actually lasts a really long time. I've bought other coils just to kind of swap them around to see how they were. Actually, because I knew I was going to eventually be doing a review on them. And I just kind of had the mentality with the cartomizer, when the cartomizer goes bad, you throw it in the garbage. They're, you know, $2 a piece, $2.50 a piece, and you just toss them. These coils are only, I believe, about $3 or so. These coils are only about $3, but I find that you get about 2 to 4 times the life of a standard cartomizer with the improved flavor. Much, much better. And to me, for you bargain vapors out there, if you're looking for something maybe not brand new, actually, I mean, if you can get past the size, because it is a relatively sizely tank. What I'm going to go ahead and do, everyone's favorite starter device that's not awful, I'll put this on an Ego Twist. Now, the one downside to it, one of the downsides, I should say, is that it is relatively large. It is. I mean, there's no other way around it. It's a 3 mil tank with extra room on top. Don't do that, because that can overfill it, and you want to be able to give it some wiggle room. But yeah, it does look rather large. However, for an opening vapor, I would recommend it if they can get past the size. Because you can easily lay it down on its side if you really needed to. And it just works, and it's relatively inexpensive. Again, you have let's just say $15 buy-in for the item, and the coils are only $3, and they're going to last you a while. You can easily get a month out of these. This one has lasted quite a while, actually, for me. I probably used this for 2 weeks, 3 weeks already, and again, I've washed a few times. Just to rinse the flavors out. If there's some stronger flavors, you can get the flavors out pretty easily. But yeah, it's really an affordable vaping choice with no fuss, no hassle, and quite frankly, it's really enjoyable. I'm gonna go ahead and take a hit on this. This is set to 4.2 volts and 2.4 ohms. So hold on. Okay, I'm back. I had to use my ohms law calculator. So this is about 7.35 watts. And let's see how it works on just our standard 600 milliamp Ego Twist. Pretty much the same. Vapor production is not terrific. This juice is actually I believe it's 50-50. Let me see. This juice is actually a 50-50 juice, so on other mods, this thing will definitely be producing more vapor. No question about it. However, this is not about massive vapor production. If you're a big vapor head and you want just plumes, you're not going to get it from here. This is meant to feel more like your analog sensation of a cigarette with a side odor of vapor, of course. But for 50-50, this is the kind of vapor you're getting. I'll do one more hit, and this is again 4.2, 7.3 watts. So it's not a vapor machine, but the flavor's there, the throat hit's there, the vapor is lower, but it's a really affordable vape. It's really economical, and the fact that you can maintain it relatively easily. The plastic case is good. The finish, everything fits together really nicely. You just got to watch out with that bottom locking cap, because when you screw into the metal, it can easily just flip. But other than that, it's a really good mod. And to be honest with you, aside from if I'm going to do something that's more of a, abrasive juice, like a fluid or a cinnamon, where I go to my trusty Pyrex tanks, they're done now. This is my new go-to, grab in the car and go vape. Will that change when I get something like the Squeep or the K-Fun? Possibly. However, it doesn't look, I don't have to worry about it. I know it won't leak. I can throw it in my pocket, and I have nothing to worry about at all. And I love that I can see the juice nice and clear. It's very self-explanatory. If somebody wants to try it, you put a top right on it. You really don't want to change the drip tip, because it's made to fit. Everything and it is a very clean looking mod. The manufacturing is quite fine for a $11 tank mod, and you can actually get the refills on something like Fastech, like a 10-pack, and they average about $1.50 a piece. You can't beat that. You can't beat those prices for what you're getting with this. So this is DIM. I definitely recommend the iClear 30S, not the 30. The 30 I did try, and it was not as good. And that one does get gurgly. That one does have kind of weird wicking issues. But this contained chamber is definitely a recommendation from me. And you can find it pretty much anywhere. And Innokin products are everywhere. So you can buy them online. You can go to your local vape store. Chances are they are going to carry this tank. So definitely a recommendation for me. I'm not gonna leave a link in the description because I did buy it from a local vape store. But any Innokin i30S, most vendors will have it. So anyhow, if you like this review, if you like the new presentation of the review, I do have to work on a little bit of the lighting, but things are, I think, a little bit better. Hopefully, you tell me. Leave it in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter @DimDoes, Facebook.com/DimDoes, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye!